London. A couple of days ago, I found this statistic saying that majority of the high demanded jobs or high paying jobs are still in London. You may have found me from the video that I made right around this time last year, titled The Reason Why People Are Leaving London. And back then, what happened in 2021, I think at the time we thought things were going to change forever because we were under the lockdown and everyone was moving out of London. And as we now in 2022, unbelievably, things have changed quite a fair bit since last year. So in this video, I wanted to talk about whether London is still a city that is worth living in or moving to if you're new graduates in 2022. Now, regardless of all the negative things that people say about London, we have to admit that London is still a vibrant and multicultural city, and it is actually attracting a lot of people, but definitely it's not a city for everyone. London has been quite notorious when it comes to house prices, and that's something that I mentioned in my previous video as well. House prices in London on average on year basis just goes up at the rate that for me it was unthinkable. Sometimes the house prices go up 10% or even 20% a year, and the reason being that there are actually a lot of foreign investors investing in the properties in London. However, when year 2020 hit, we were required to be working from home, and a lot of us, including myself, was still required to be working from home during the year 2021. So a lot of people during that time of those 2 years decided to move out of London for a more quieter and cheaper lifestyle while fulfilling their work obligations to their London-based companies outside of London. Pretty good deal if you ask me. And here's why it's probably worth it to move to London or to be living in London in 2022, and that is because the London house prices or even the rental prices has actually increased in a reasonable rate. Now, I'm not saying that the house prices have declined because, I don't think that will happen for a city such as London. However, it hasn't increased in a rate that was ridiculous like it was before. And to be honest, in a sense, it has increased at the rate that is much slower than other regions of the UK. And I don't have a crystal ball, so who knows what's going to happen with London property market or rental market in the next 3 years or 4 years. However, I would say is if you fancy living a London lifestyle, living in a city that is vibrant, offers a lot to do, and multicultural city, and if you want to get a discounted price for living in this kind of city, then this is probably the best time to do it. If you can secure a rent for a year or 18 months at the rate that hasn't been increasing as fast as it used to be, then you're practically enjoying the lifestyle at a discounted price. By the way, if you feel like I am talking a little bit off or my energy is coming off a little bit off, then you would be right. I am still recovering from the virus. Yes, that virus that we all know about, and it's now day number 10, and I am still not back to normal. Hopefully I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet. Another reason why I think London might still be worth living in and moving to in year 2022 onwards is that although many companies do offer remote working or fully remote working, majority of the companies are requiring people to go back into the office a few days a week. So it's more of a hybrid working with flexibility rather than fully remote working. Of course, many companies do offer fully remote working, but majority of the companies will be asking people to go back either on hybrid basis or full-time, which is something that I would never do, by the way. Like, I would never go back 5 days into the office ever again. But there are companies that reach out to me while I was looking for a job and saying that they require all of their employees to be in the office 5 days a week. So I think if you want that sort of London salary, progressing the career ladder in London, then it's probably more plausible to get a good London job if you're based in London, or places easily commute to London rather than being so far away. If you're one of those people that sort of move out of London in 2020 or 2021 and you're still working for the same company, I think you're probably quite safe. You're staying within the same company, and if they're asking for some people to be going back into the office on certain days, and you just say you can't do it because now you moved out of London way too far to be commuting into the office. I think on that basis you're quite safe. However, if you will be looking for another job, I think that's when things might become a bit more challenging, because as I said, from my personal experience recently and speaking to recruiters as well, many or majority of the companies do ask people to go back in the office. And here's the reason why London might not be a city for you this year or next year or ever. One of the main reasons is because it is expensive. You heard about it, we talked about it, how expensive the city is, but with the recent inflation and the rise in interest rate, recently it's become even more expensive to the level that sometimes I think is kind of unbearable. I did talk about how much I earn in previous video, and I don't know about you, but to me personally, I feel like that's quite a lot of money, but I still can't go out in London and not think about how expensive things are. You're paying £6 or £7 for a pint of beer, and £12 maybe or £13 for a glass of cocktail. I went out with my friends the other day and the bill was £80 each. It is so expensive, and sometimes I do wonder, why am I living here in a city that I can only occasionally enjoy myself? So I think at the end of the day, it all depends on your current lifestyle and what you want in life. But if you want the best of both worlds, where you can live in a quieter place, maybe a bit cheaper, but still able to commute to London for that London job, then I think the best bet is probably to live in like Sutton or Kent or even in Essex, so that you can still easily commuting to your office in London a few times a week. I think that's sort of ideal for a lot of people, but I won't be surprised if in the next few years prices in those areas are going to skyrocket. And at the moment, London is a good choice for me, and it has been a good choice for me because I did talk about how I increased my income at a quite significant rate, and I do strongly believe that I won't be able to do that without moving to London. However, will London be a place for me forever? No is the answer. I am getting a little bit older, and sometimes when I go into central London or commute to work, I come back home and I am completely exhausted. So I do think that maybe in a couple of years London will no longer be a home for me, but I'm still not sure where else am I going to move to. But hey, this is all my personal opinion and all my personal experiences. Don't take this as facts. I would love to hear what you think about this topic though, because I feel like London, being in London, living in London or not, is sort of like discussion that has been ongoing and still ongoing and will be ongoing for foreseeable future. It's just something that people love to talk about, and something that I do personally love to talk about. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully when I see you next time, I will feel a little bit better and it will be easier for you to understand what I'm saying, hopefully.